Okay, welcome back to my new LaTeX tutorial. In the previous video, I explained how you can create a very nice, good-looking presentation with LaTeX Beamer class. And now in this video, I would like to go one step further and explain then how you can create a nice CV. So all the things which you need for that, we have learned already. So you can directly start with this and following my steps actually. So before you can do this, of course, you have to create a new file. In this case, I called it cv.tech. And then, as usual, we have to first define our document class. So we don't want to insert any further parameter, and we can choose between different document class, of course. However, in this case, I would like to take the one which has the largest community and where you can also find easily help in the internet, and which I also used myself for applications, for example, or in order to create an academic CV. So in this case, I always prefer to use moderncv. And it's also very well maintained. So if you use this, you can be sure that it also compiles successfully. Then one thing which we have to define in the beginning is the CV theme, similar to the Beamer theme which we have used. So we can write here /moderncv theme, and then in brackets we have, in rectangular brackets, we have to type in the color which we want to use. So you could choose between different colors like gray, red, orange, green, and so on. I would like to use, however, blue, because this is the color which I also use for my own CV. But of course, you can play around with that, and maybe you can choose the one which you like most. And then you can choose between different themes. So I usually use the classic one, which I find the most beautiful one. There's also a casual one, which looks a little bit more modern, and the banking one, which maybe is more commonly used in the banking sector. And there are different ways how to arrange the different items and entries in the CV. But in principle, they all do the same. And you can play around with this also to see what kind of changes you will get in the result. So this is in principle everything which we need in order to define the layout of our CV. In the next step, then I would like to tell you a few more things which you have to insert, otherwise it will not work. And this first name is the first thing, of course, is the first name of the person who writes the CV. In this case, let's call him John as usual, and then we have to define the family name, and in this case, as usual, we will use Doe. And then we also have to define a title of our CV. So in this case, we could just call it Curriculum Vitae. But of course, you can also choose another title, of course, if you think that it's more fitting according to your requirements. And I think this is everything. Now, in the next step, we can begin and end our document as usual. And in the normal CV, you start with personal details. At least in Germany, it's the case like that. I'm not so much familiar about other countries, how the CV looks there, but you can adopt it, of course, according to your own needs. So in this case, we can create a section and we call that maybe personal details. And then we can use one command implemented in moderncv, which is called CV item. This is the easiest one because it just creates two columns, one on the left side in the hints section or in the hints part of the document, and the other one on the right side in the main document. So in order to explain this a little bit better, we will just use it, I think. So we can, in the first field, maybe we want to define the birth date and place. So we can write here in the first parameter of our command CV item, we type in birth, and then in the second one we can maybe type in the date. So let's suppose one is born in 1st of January 2000, and the city where our John Doe is born is maybe called small town. Okay, and then we can use another CV item here, which is, for example, the family status, and then you can type in, for example, married. Yeah? And then maybe one other thing which might be a nice thing to add is the nationality, and in this case, our person should be maybe a German. Okay, and now we have inserted the most important part. So now we can compile this and see what happens. Yeah, and now you see here on the right side, the personal details are filled together with the birth, family, and nationality. And of course, the most important thing which we have to insert here now, which I have forgotten actually, is make title. Otherwise, our title is not shown. And as you can see, it's maybe not perfectly fitting to our page. So we can easily deal with that if we include another package here. In this case, our geometry package, as we have done this also a few times ago. And then we can either define the width and the height of our page, or we can just write, for example, scale 0.75. And if we do this, then the borders get smaller and our CV fits now perfectly to our A4 page. If we want to make sure that it's A4 and not any kind of other paper type, we can write here A4 paper, but it will not change anything significantly. Okay, so now we have put in the first parameters or the first commands into our CV, and of course it looks not complete until now, but you have learned already one very important command, and this is CV item. And maybe another one is CV entry, which has to be used very frequently. So we could write here we could insert another section here. For example, we could write work experience. So in this case, a CV item would be too short. So I would like to explain CV entry. CV entry has not only 2, but 6 parameters or 6 arguments that you can insert. The first one is shown again here in this first section, in the hint section, whereas the others are shown in the main page, and the last one is actually shown in the new line, so you can add further description. So let's suppose our person worked from 1999 up to 2002 in a company. And this company, the position for which he worked is maybe, let's suppose he works in a university as a research assistant. And the university in which he works is maybe just called Sample University. Then you can see how many fields you want to fill. In this case, maybe we only want to fill the first 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we have to keep 3 empty, otherwise it will give an error message. And then in the last one, we can, for example, add further description, what this person has done. For example, teaching and doing research. And when we compile this, hopefully everything worked well. Yes, we can see now here the date is shown in this part of our document. The job description actually is shown here. The place where our person worked is then written behind this, and all this is separated with commas. At the end there is a dot. And then our description of what we have done in our job, or what this person has done in his job, is then shown in the next line. So for example, we can also insert here maybe some city. Let's suppose he worked also in the city or in the place where he was born, which is small town. So now it increases this a little bit further. So the same we can do for different other things. We can insert some more CV entries below that. We could also insert some educations, university educations, school education, and so on. So I think with these 2 items, you can already do a lot. And another item which I am commonly using in my own CV is the language, CV language item. So let's suppose you want to tell to your future employer what kind of languages you speak. So you can write here language skills, and then you can use CV language. This is the command actually. And then you can define the language, for example, German. And this is of course because our person is a German, so this is his native language. And let's suppose he can also speak English fluently. and maybe some other kind of language which one could imagine. And then we can compile this, and you will see that you get an error message, and this is because CV language requires 3 arguments. In this case, we have provided only 2. So when you compile this, then now it's shown correctly. The language is shown again here on the left side, and the skills that you have are shown on the right side. And then you can insert a few more parameters here. For example, you can tell your employer where you learned this, and then you can write here maybe school education, and then it is shown here on the right side in italic font. So now you can also prove actually where you learned this language, and you can insert some certificate where you can how you can prove this. Okay, and this is already very nice thing. Then one last thing which I commonly use in my CVs is some special skills maybe, and for that I usually use another command which is called CV list item. And this is very simple because it only requires 1 argument, and then you can write, for example, here reading books, which is more a hobby, I guess, but maybe it's also a special skill. And then you can insert some programming languages which you know, for example, C++ and Python and so on. And then when we compile this, you see now each item has a bullet in front, and then you can also show here what kind of special skills you have. So I think these are the most important things which you need to know. And now when you know all these commands, then you can actually create your own CV in a very simple way. One other thing which is now missing at the moment is the address, because in some cases maybe you want to insert an address. And in order to do that, we can write here address. And then we can write, for example, the address of our person here, which is, let's suppose, Park Street 1. And then we have to create a new line here, or actually the command already expects a special format. So the first argument here is actually, for example, the street. Then the second one is the town. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, small town. This person is maybe still living there. And then let's suppose this is in Germany, although it does not fit. And then we can compile that. And now you see that the address is shown here on the upper right corner. Which looks quite neat and fancy, and I think this with this CV, in the way how it is created here, you can easily impress your employer or the department to who you send this CV. Now I can also show you some other types. So maybe we switch from classic to casual. You see that the main part has not changed, but the address is now shown below the document, and the name and the title is shown here on the upper right corner. With some changed style in the font and some different colors, but one can do this, of course. However, I would always like to do classic. And then you can also maybe change the color one time from blue to green, and you see that now only the different sections have changed the colors. Now we go back to blue again. You can also insert very easily a mobile phone number. Let's suppose the number would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And what is also sometimes important, of course, nowadays is email. So let's suppose the person has email John underscore. In this case, we don't want to use this as a mathematical operator to put something in the index, but we want to basically show the character. So we have to put a backslash and escape this character before that. So we have to write here John underscore Doe at provider.com. And then we can compile this. And you see now the mobile number is shown here, and also the email, which is even clickable. So it looks really nice, and I think much easier and much nicer than what you can do in Word in a reasonable amount of time. Yeah, one last thing regarding here the CV. If you think that the space here is not large enough in the first column, in the hints column, you can actually increase this width by using the command setLength, which is a command inserted in or used in LaTeX itself. And then we can write here, for example, setLength and then hints column width. This is the command which we want to change. And then we can type in width, for example, 5 centimeter. And when you do this now, this length increases to 5 centimeter. Or you could shorten it to 1 centimeter, but then you run into trouble because it's just not enough space and you have some line break here, which doesn't look so much nice. So I always suggest to keep it according to the standard definition. Don't change it and try to adjust or adjust your CV according to the standard configuration, which is already a nice thing. Yeah, and especially in some CVs, you have to insert a photo. So you can also do this. There is a special command for this implemented, which is called photo. And when I write here photo and then logo.png, this is, I think, the graphics that we have created some time ago. And I run this script now, then you see that even the photo of yourself or of this person, John Doe, will be shown here, and you can also change the parameters according to that. Of course, the layout of the photo should be according to the requirement. So I think a pass photo would be maybe a good possibility, which is a little bit longer than this one here. But you can already imagine, I think, how it looks like at the end. So I think this is a very nice possibility to do that. Okay, and one more thing which I would like to explain is how you can create cover letters with moderncv, because this is also implemented, and the advantage if you do it with this package is that it automatically looks according to your CV. So the style and the layout does not change, and it looks then like a complete package that you send to your future employer. So in order to do that, we have to, of course, give or insert a receiver address. And this we will do by writing here recipient. And then the first argument that we have to insert is the name of the person to who we send this. So let's suppose we have a pure German name here, typical for a placeholder, which is called Max Mustermann. And he's maybe living in another street, which is called Garden Street 1. And here we don't have to insert several arguments for the different parameters, but we only have to insert one parameter, which is the full address. Only the name has to be separated. So Garden Street, then we have to insert the town name. So let's suppose this is 54321 big city. And the country is again Germany. So in principle, according to my knowledge, this is everything what we need. And then we can have to define an opening. So we can write here, for example, dear Sir, Madam. And we have to define a closing, of course, which could be kind regards in the standard way. So, and now we can compile this, and I guess there will be no error message appearing. Sorry, here's, I did a mistake. Of course, as I said, it should not be separated. So we have to just put a double backslash here for a new line. So now we don't receive any error message. And now we can create our letter in front of our CV. So we can write here, make letter title and make letter closing. And just to check what happens, we can maybe also insert our blind text package, and we can insert some blind text here. Hopefully this works now and there's no error message appearing. Yeah, and it worked. The only thing which we have to do is maybe create a page break here. So with new page, our CV should appear on the next page. Yeah, and now you see that here we have our CV on the second page, and on the first page we have our cover letter in combination with the recipient, the receiver address, our own address, the date, the opening, the closing, and kind regards. This is shown maybe in, we should make a line break below that, so we could write it in such a way. No? And yeah, this is in principle everything which I want to show. I hope that it was beneficial for you. I hope you learned something and you can now create your own very fancy, nice looking CV. And you can maybe impress your future employer with this. So yeah, with this I want to close the video actually. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe my channel if you have not done so far. And yeah, hopefully see you soon for my next video.